Hi, my name is Bryce Henson, CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, and you're listening to EA Interviews.
EA Interviews, episode 464.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Expert Authority World, I know you want to be a successful entrepreneur. I know you want to help more people and do all these things, but are you taking care of yourself? Do you have a fitness regimen? Do you even believe that being healthy is going to make you more successful as an entrepreneur? I will be honest with you. It is something I always fought. I didn't grow up being healthy well, let me rephrase that. I was always healthy. I didn't grow up with fitness. And I was always, you got to drive, business. Then I started getting healthier and choosing to go, I want to do this and I want to be more fit and different things like that. And it absolutely has helped me be a better entrepreneur. And I'm so excited to have Bryce Henson on the show because not only is he a very ultra successful business entrepreneur, CEO, but it's in the fitness space, and he is killing it over there as well, which is exciting. So he qualified not only on one front, not on two fronts, but he's also from Michigan, and we love that. So I'm going to bring him up right after we thank our sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. And that's why I'm launching my new book to help you regardless of where you think your current writing abilities are. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Bryce Henson. Bryce, how are you feeling today?
Mario, I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
I am excited to learn what you have to share because clearly you're successful in business and clearly you're successful with fitness. So tell me stuff I don't know and that the audience doesn't know, because I think I'm on a good track, but I have no doubt you're going to put us all on a better one afterwards.
Yeah, well, I guess high level, I'm the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, which is the fastest growing indoor fitness bootcamp franchise on the planet. And we have a huge passion for inspiring fitness and changing lives every day. Mario, that is our mission statement, but way more than that, it's our life's work. And ultimately what we do is we help individuals with fitness and fat loss and, in the trenches day in and day out with nutrition coaching and mindset coaching. But in terms of how I can help you out in terms of nutrition and mindset and fitness, I think, to kind of kick it off, my first piece of advice is really just starting small. Human nature, we think, we have to, go from not working at all out at all, or maybe since high school all the way to, working out 7 days a week and eating this ultra clean nutrition program. And that's great. But most times people set themselves up for failure because they need to realize they just need to take one step in front of the other, start working out 3 times a week, increase your water, increase some sleep. Those 3, little fitness hacks will actually set yourself up for long-term sustainable success. So high level, I want to start there, but certainly I'm an open book and happy to serve.
I got to ask you about the water thing. I gave up pop, with the exception of Christmas time, around in last summer, one grad party. I started drinking all water in high school. And I've done it, and everyone that knows me knows I always have water and I can get it for you and everything. How big of a role? I know it just makes sense, like drink water, it's healthier, but like how big of a role does the water play in the fitness? And my next question is going to be with the sleep, because I've had some contention there too. Like I don't like it, but I know it's a good thing now. So let's start with the water.
Totally. Well, I like to always kind of start with some fitness hacks that will actually, they're small changes, but they'll make massive differences in people's lives. And most times people initially don't think of that. They think of like they need to crush 3-hour workouts, or they need to really clean up the nutrition, which, working out, human movement, and nutrition is extremely important. But I always like to start with the basics. Increasing your hydration. Yes, it's good for your body. The cellular level, your body's made up of over 70% of water. So you're rehydrating yourself, but also too, from a fat loss perspective, which many people, are interested in, especially as we're battling the obesity obesity epidemic here in the States, with nearly 50% of our population is statistically obese, which is a huge issue. So that in mind, from a water perspective, when you drink water and when you hydrate yourself, typically speaking, you are more prone or less prone to overeating. In fact, one of my first fitness mentors, said, who was a 50-year-old guy, he had the six-pack abs, he used to do fitness competitions, and he said, Bryce, the best way to stay lean is actually to hydrate, because most times people get that sensation where they think is hunger. They're actually dehydrated. So first and foremost, it will actually, fill you up. It will make you feel hydrated. It will reduce the probability to overeat. And then, of course, you're just going to feel better the more hydrated you are. So I always like to start there.
Okay, I got to take this deeper. Quality of water, tap water, bottled water, filtrated water, and how good of a filtration, Fiji, alkaline, the Kangen water.
Woo, going to the deep end. So I would say certainly if you get filtered water, the alkaline water is even, more precious than that. So that would be a strong recommendation. But at the end of the day, I would much rather you drink water, even if it's from the tap, than not at all. But of course, depending on where you're at and all that, but certainly filtration is the way to go. And, bottled water will help as well. But, you got to drink water. That's really the main message.
That is fantastic. I did not know it was that important to fat loss and everything. I was just thinking of hydration purposes and that feeling of full. Like, yeah, I guess you could get filled up more on water and then you're less prone to eating and everything. So I want to ask you about the sleep, but I also, since you mentioned fat loss, I also want to ask you about CLA. What do you think about CLA for fat loss in conjunction with the water?
Oh, forgive me. I'm actually not familiar with the term CLA. Can you shed some light?
The supplement, conjugated linoleic acid.
Oh, look at that. Not totally familiar, very candidly, but
awesome. Then clearly maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. It's not a staple.
Yeah. And what was the specific question that I can dive deep? Forgive me.
Honestly, it was, is it worth it or not? And clearly, I think you answered it. Like, because there's so many supplements and stuff out there. Some people swear, oh, you need to be eating this, and not necessarily the food, but here's the supplements that are going to accelerate it. To my knowledge, and I've taken it in the past, and honestly, I was considering putting it back in the regimen, but it helps burn, to my knowledge, fat, gain lean muscle while burning fat.
And certainly supplementation, there's a lot of great supplements out there. Typically what I like to recommend is a good green supplement because a lot of food, especially people eat way too much processed food. They don't have the good nutrients and vitamins. So a good green supplement is going to go a long way. Also, a multivitamin and a fish oil are kind of a really, standard. I also take an immune booster, if you will, which is through a supplementation company called Truline, and really, really works in terms of invigorating the immune system. So you can, go down the rabbit hole, if you will, but usually I start there. And then from a supplementation perspective, also, good protein as well. So I typically drink a vegan protein shake on a daily basis. And from a supplementation perspective, I think those are, the cornerstones, and you can get more sophisticated with that, but really bringing it back, Mario, I think probably the bigger conversation is just food choices. And far too many times, people are eating fast food, which is really, really challenging, processed food from the supermarket as well. And if you just make some basic, adjustments to remove fast food, and let's face it, most society of our American society is eating fast food 4, 5, 6 times a week. So if you could actually just kind of mitigate that to maybe 2 times a week, okay? And the famous adage is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. So how do you eat, really clean up your nutrition? It's just one adjustment at a time. So, putting away the fast food at least a few times a week, focusing in on whole foods, increase your hydration. A lot of times if you can, eat, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, that's going to go a long way than even, stacking the supplements till you're blue in the face.
Yeah. Do you know Allison Melody?
I don't.
I need to introduce you to my friend Allie. She has a great book called Food Heals, and she is a huge advocate for green, like you said, the green drinks, eating healthy, vegan, and all that. And I think you two would get along real well.
Oh, awesome. Well, I love that introduction.
I for sure would kind of want to text her right now and be like, hey, jump on Facebook. Allie, if you're watching, comment below. So let's talk about the sleep. I have fought this for a long time, And I get so excited about business and helping people and doing all these things. Like historically, I was always like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm not trying to bring that on sooner than it has to be, though. So what happens when you don't sleep, and why do you think that certain entrepreneurs just think it's a waste of time and don't see the point to it?
Well, I think it's just that it's the efficiency, right? And we're cut from the same cloth, Mario. Hard charging entrepreneurs want to build, businesses and serve others and serve your team and your community, which is all fine and dandy. You need to do that. But this is why I love fitness so much, because if you don't fill your own cup first, you can't fill the other cup of the people that you serve. And for me, it starts with good, clean nutrition. It starts with good hydration, and it starts with rest. There's a famous adage that I like to use, at least, work hard, but also rest hard. And there's no way that you can actually work hard for the long term sustainably unless you rest hard. The famous adage of recharging your batteries is true. I mean, think about, today in the technology or the technological world that we live in, your iPhones, your laptop, you run those machines hard. They do a lot of awesome things for you. But at the end of the day, you need to actually plug that thing in to get recharged up. And that's the same, analogy for your rest. And a lot of times what happens is you can go for short stints, where you sleep 4 to 5 hours a night, which, some and many entrepreneurs do. But over the long term, that's not sustainable. It's going to, massively drag on your health. Your immune system is going to weaken over time. And eventually you're going to burn out, physically, mentally. So it's going to increase, the risk for all these things, including increased disease. So my biggest, recommendation from a rest perspective is, at the very least, you need about 6 hours of rest, and then upwards of 8 hours. But everyone's a little bit different as well. For me, I actually I need a little bit more sleep than I think the average person. I really err on the side of 8 hours a night. But regardless, if you're not getting at least 6 hours long term, it's not going to be sustainable. And really, we need to be in this for the long term, whether it be business, fitness, health, life. It's a marathon, not a sprint, which is really the big message here.
I appreciate you saying that. And that was one of my questions, because 4 hours a night is kind of nuts. 6.5, I find personally I can be functioning like for a week or so, maybe or two, unless it's like really stressful days. But I've never found like I really need 8 or 9, unless I was just up for 3 days straight, and then you'd probably need more than 8 or 9. But would you say that stress, anxiety, physical, when you're working out and everything, I've noticed maybe you're a little bit more tired and you need more rest to recoup and all that. It all plays a variable, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And actually, like, over the course of time, these, gym warriors are like, oh, rest when I'm dead, or whatever the case may be. Over time, actually, your performance in the gym, your performance, physically moving your body, your performance even at work mentally is going to suffer long term. So you really, really need to spend the time. And, I like to use the rule that I learned from a mentor from afar, a gentleman named Andrew Huberman, really, really sharp, PhD out in California. He talks about the 80% rule. So 80% of the time, try to get that 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. And then you're going to have, things that come up, whether it be work or a deadline, or you have kids, have a bad night. So it's unrealistic to think that 100% of your nights are going to be beautiful sleep. But if you can really trend at 80% or more, getting at least 6 to 8 hours, long term, that's going to benefit your life exponentially.
Well, I appreciate you sharing everything you are, and I'm smirking a little bit because I actually have an app that tracks water intake and gives me reminders, everything, and I don't know if anyone heard it, but I'm going to do something I've never done on the show, because generally I tell people to eat and drink beforehand, but let's have some water in honor of drinking more water.
Ooh, I'll join you right here. Always have one ready to go.
Here we go. Making people healthier by leading by example, right?
That's it.
So, all right, a little bit more on the sleep thing. What type of beds, like, is Tempur-Pedic better than Sealy Mattress-Soft, or the Purple King Queen? Same thought process with the water? Like, is there one that's better, or just the fact that you're resting more is going to make the biggest difference?
I think so. I think it's the latter. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's about what works for you. And, in my experience, being a fitness coach since I think 2007 is when I got certified and started training clients, the nights and weekends. And really 2012 was when I fully opened my first, gym. And I would say really, hit the professional scene. What I've learned about people is that human nature, to the core is very similar, but we all have our intricacies. Everyone's wired a little bit different. And what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other. So my big call to action is, whatever works for you, find something that works for you, knowing though that you have to value sleep. You have to understand that rest is an integral part of your life. And, for some people, they want the Tempur-Pedic. For some people, they want, a harder or firm mattress. Other people need a little bit softer mattress. Also depends on injuries in your back. So, there's a wide variety of variables there, but really you just need to find a regimen, a routine, and a bed that's going to, work for you, that you're going to be comfortable and that you can, stick with it and really commit to, being restful, for the long term.
Yeah, I got a Tempur-Pedic King, and I've been using a buckwheat hull pillow for probably at least 2 decades. And
sounds like it's working out for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually just looking at stuff the other night. I'm like, I don't know if I need a new one, but this one is, I think, from 98. It works. I mean, testament to time, so it's not broke, right?
There you go.
So with all of that, I so appreciate what you're sharing, because I hear stuff. I have so many questions. That's why I love doing the show, because it's like I'm just naturally curious and inquisitive, but I also listen a lot to other people. Like sometimes I don't even know them, or I do, and I just kind of, maybe look like I'm on my phone, or, the whole headphone trick, like, oh yeah, at the airport, like nothing's playing. You're an idiot. You're nice. Okay. Stand away from you. I just like learning to best know how to help people. And it's interesting to hear when people talk, they kind of reveal everything. So with that being said, why do you think so many people, and I could talk to myself here, but just don't put a priority on fitness the same as other countries and things? And I'm a little shocked because you said 50% are obese, not just overweight.
No, it's even worse, Mario. So nearly 50% of our U.S. population is statistically obese. Another 30%, so 70% total, are both obese and overweight, or overweight. So 70% of our adult population is overweight and or obese. And then what's worse and what's scarier, Mario, is that 20% of our youth is statistically obese. And I'm not shaming overweight people. I'm not shaming obesity. What I am, though, is highlighting a serious concern, because, we all went through this big thing called COVID over the last few years. And if you look at the data, what the data shows is that over 80% of the people that are most severely impacted were impacted because they were obese. And really, there's 2 major things that happens. When you're overweight, severely overweight, your organs, every single organ in your body has to work harder just to stay at equilibrium. So then when the next virus, whether it be COVID or any other disease basically attacks your system, your body is already working hard just to stay at equilibrium. And then it has to fight this, additional outside force, which is basically a recipe for disaster. So from a physiological perspective, it's a serious issue. And, I've seen studies that because of the severe overweight problem in our country, we spend in excess over $200 billion with a B on medical costs, which is ginormous. In fact, the average person who's obese pays anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 of extra healthcare costs. So not only from a physicality perspective, from a financial perspective, and then the conversation that I also want to hit on is the mental health perspective, which has really gotten a lot of attention these days. The amount of anxiety and depression and prescription medication that's being pushed out there by big pharma. It's not the only reason, but there's certainly a big reason founded in people not taking care of themselves. So I think, the problem is real. I want to showcase that, but there's also a solution as well. And it's, as simple as, getting a coach, increasing your hydration, as we talked about, increasing your sleep, and then putting away, or at least limiting the amount of fast food and carbohydrate or simple carbohydrates, meaning sugars, putting away the processed foods and really, kind of cleaning up your nutrition, sitting down with your family for dinner and cooking some lean protein, some chicken or fish, and vegetables. I know these are small tweaks, but they go a long, long way in helping, the big health crisis that our, country's against.
Some good salmon with asparagus, okay?
Look at that. Take that to the bank every day and twice on Sundays, my friend.
Yeah, it's, I equate it to business too, because I'm not going to act like I'm a fitness guru, but I'm better now than I was, and, that's progress. But I equate it to business because it's like, yeah, you do a little bit here. When you said cut down the fast food from 5 to 6 times a week or 4 to 5 to 1 or 2, that's a huge shift. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't something happen with your body that when you're eating it less and less, you don't crave it as much, and then you're just like, this kind of tastes horrible?
That is so true, Mario. And that's actually, just think of any change in life. At first, it's always the hardest. When I first went through my transformation, as we talked about in the show, I'm originally from the Midwest in Michigan as well. And great place, salt of the earth people, but not the fitness capital of the world, which we want to change. And growing up in the Midwest, especially my family came from humble beginnings for first world standards. We used to run out of money before we ran out of month. So fast food is a much cheaper option. So I was addicted to Taco Bell and foods like that. But what happened was, when in 2007, a couple years before I moved out to Southern California, and my first fitness mentor, who's actually from the west side of Michigan, moved out to California. We lived together, and really he introduced me to circuit training and lifting weights and clean nutrition, but most importantly, coaching and accountability. But after going through that transformation, Mario, I'd be lying if I said for the first 6 months, oh my goodness, this fish and the asparagus and the vegetables, that just doesn't, ring a bell for me. But what happened was, I put one foot in front of the other. 1 week turned into 2, turned into 3. And before you know it, I looked back about 6 months later, and my palate had actually changed. And what I realized is, I remember going to Taco Bell one time after I hadn't had it for 6 months. And I used to crave it. I used to love it so much. And I had a chili cheese burrito, and I was like, oh my goodness, this hurts my stomach. This doesn't even taste the same. So actually your palate changes, and it gets easier after you go through that first initial 3 to 6 months, not only with fitness, but any major transformation, but certainly, towards your fitness, towards your nutrition, your palate will change. So there's hope out there is really what I'm trying to say.
Why couldn't you have said McDonald's? Taco Bell is not horrible. You just had to say that one. But I'm joking, but the irony is, I've always liked Taco Bell more also, and I don't think I've had any, I keep going, oh, I should go get some, but it's maybe 3 times a year now, 4 instead of 3 times a week.
I was with you on that train for many, many years. It's been a while ago, but absolutely.
It's still treat myself for Christmas and special occasions, but it's just like the pop. I was bringing you can ask my friends. You said the key word earlier. You said efficiency. Sleep is inefficient. You got to slow down. Well, so are what do they call them? 20 ounces. They don't even make them anymore. They're 16.9, but maybe they do. I don't know. I don't drink pop. But in high school, I was like, okay, we got this for $1.25 or $1.25 at the machine in high school. Kroger's is a hop, skip, and a jump. We got 55 minutes for lunch. I can get a 2-liter for 79 cents. I would get 2 or 3 2-liters, throw them in my backpack, and I was like pouring drinks for kids in class, just drinking the whole thing. And I don't know what it was. There was no person that was marked me as a certain disease or whatever. I was just like, this probably isn't the healthiest. And I just went, whoosh, and since then been drinking water nonstop.
Well, good on you. And it's interesting. There's also studies, especially even with diet soda. It's funny you say pop. It reminds me back in my Midwestern days.
Yeah,
but
go get a sortie.
There you go. But it's interesting, studies show that they're researchers, and scientists actually put, very addictive type of chemicals in these drinks to make them more addictive. So you want more, you have a craving for more. It's hard to, stop cold turkey. But ultimately when you do, and you have a little bit of time and space, you actually feel better, you feel healthier, and you crave it less, which is really the call to action. But if you look even in diet soda, The list of ingredients, the amount of unneeded chemicals is not strong. And I'd be lying if I said I don't enjoy a Diet Coke now and again. And I think there's something to be said about moderation as well. Moderation is a spice of life. So you don't have to go from like eating fast food 7 days a week, drinking 2 liters of soda every single day to all of a sudden zero. That's pretty unreasonable. I think you're going to be setting yourself up for like a binge long term. But if you can make a small adjustments, limit that to 1 or 2 times a week, maybe only drink soda on the weekends to start, and then over the long term you can even get more, I guess, dialed in from there. But I think that's a really strong recommendation for both the short term and the long term, which will really change your life over the long term.
I am so glad you're saying this, and I've never told anyone this. There's maybe 2 friends that I would talk to privately when I was just out and about, close friends, and they're like, "Didn't you just go to the gym?" I go, "Yeah." And they're like, "Why are you in a McDonald's drive-thru?" And I was like, I started this new habit, but I hadn't weaned off the old one, and I literally would go for 3 months, go to the gym, get the same food. And then it was like, well, now I don't need to do this. And there was a point it did break. So it's not to be a joke or anything. It was just like, I don't know if I can go from here to here, but I'm going to at least start this and do less. And then it did shift. So I love that you're saying start where you're at and just work towards it. And for anyone listening, I know I've been joking the whole time and make jokes all the time, but this was honest to get, what is it, right hand to God? Yeah, there's a couple people I could say, yeah, there's videos of me privately just messaging and stuff going, yeah, I'm now in the drive-thru getting a snack because now I'm hungry. Well, a protein bar and water would be better, and that's what I snack on now. But I love that it's progress-based. So who would you say is your biggest success story from all the people you've helped?
Ooh. Well, brand wide, I mean, we feel very fortunate. We have, hundreds of locations, hundreds of franchise partners who serve, tens of thousands of clients at a day-to-day basis. So it's hard to put, my finger on one. But I will say, when I first started my fitness journey on the professional side as a coach, opened my first Fit Body Bootcamp location in Orange County, California, back in 2012, right near Disneyland. And I was fired up. I was excited. I was passionate about fitness. I had a lot to learn about sales and marketing and leadership, which I guess is a story for another day. But I remember a client, her name is Courtney, and we're still friends to this day. I cheer her on Facebook. And she came into, the doors. You could see just a broken woman. She was over 100 pounds overweight. But more than that, she didn't have confidence. She couldn't even look you in the eye. And it turns out she was going through, she was in an abusive relationship, and, she knew she needed a change. She just didn't know where to start. And thankfully, a friend referred her to our program. And I remember sitting down with her at a strategy session after the first week or so of her starting the program. And I could see the look in her eye, like, there was the light in the eye, and she wanted something different.
Determination.
That you got it. You could see it there, but also too, you could also see the self-doubt and just the baggage that she'd been living with, for a long period of time. But, as we kind of talked about, her goals and her aspirations, her dream, and we created an 18-month plan, because the reality of the situation is the 100 pounds didn't pack on overnight, and it wasn't going to release overnight either. But we put together an 18-month plan, and I kid you not, Mario, on the 17th month, she crossed 100-pound weight loss sustainably. And she changed her life, which is really like the biggest call to action. She, her energy, her confidence, her radiance. She actually broke up with her boyfriend, which is a very good thing because it was an abusive relationship. And she actually ended up getting engaged and then become married to a guy that treated her well, that really uplifted her. And now, if you can believe, fast forward nearly a decade later, she's a fitness coach inspiring other people, which for me is so, I guess, magical and fulfilling to know that, Courtney could come in and, have a vision for her life, but certainly not be in a situation where she thought she could achieve that, but through some coaching, accountability, support, from our team, be able to, change her life. And now she's on a mission to inspire others. So Mario, for me, it's hard to say just one, but certainly Courtney is definitely one of the top, most memorable stories for sure.
I mean, that's a great one when you can pay it forward like that.
Amen.
I mean, now it's the same thing. I think whenever we publish business books for people, it's like, what's that ripple effect? We get it out for you. How many people do you reach? How many does the next people reach? And it sounds like, you transformed her And now she's transforming that many more people.
That's it. That's the name of the game. Pay it forward.
Yeah, I think there's so many people nowadays that just want to see the example. Everyone, I mean, no one has a shortage of, especially with fitness. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that doesn't realize if they eat healthier and move around more, they're going to be in better shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what holds them back? Is it really that mindset?
I would say, there's a lot of factors. It's definitely not, to a high level, generally speaking, it's not a lack of education. Most Americans, specifically in North America, if you walked up to an American on the street and said, "Hey, what's better for you?" and you show them a lean chicken salad or you show them a big type of ice cream, they're going to say lean chicken salad. But to your point, Mario, it's about the disconnect of actually choosing that lean chicken salad time and time again, or at least the vast majority of times. And taking a step back, I think, to one perspective, if you look at the dawn of human time, the hundreds of thousands of years our species evolved, we're at the first time where actually someone has a risk of dying from obesity than they do starvation. So that's actually a first world problem. That is a sign of abundance. So in many ways, we have a lot to be grateful for. We live in a time of abundance. On the other side of the coin, though, we have a problem with control and constraint. As you think about it, like our body evolved from a time where we didn't have a fully stocked fridge that we could just gain access to every single time. So our body is in conservation mode. When you saw a meal, you want to take and consume that meal because you don't know when the next meal is. Well, things have changed, but our evolution has not, at least from that perspective. So I think it's understanding where we came from and how our physiology is wired. But then also, too, having understanding respect for our bodies, realizing that our bodies are not like a dumpster. Just because you can eat doesn't mean you should eat. And I think the biggest disconnect that we have, what's really worked for me, because Mari, I would love to sit on my high horse and say, back in 2007, I could have done this by myself and I didn't need any help. But the fact is I did. I needed an accountability coach. I needed a guide, if you will. And I kind of put a bow on it from this perspective, from a human nature perspective, which you and your audience can definitely relate to this. Many times, human nature, we are okay disappointing ourselves. But when we disappoint another person, that's really, really painful. And there's a lot of evolutionary wiring that goes into that. But I think that's the value of a fitness coach. So it's about setting yourself up for success, putting yourself in a position to win. And if you put yourself in a position to win where you hire an accountability coach who's going to be there for you, who you are at risk of disappointing, which is going to cause a lot of mental anguish, that's actually stacking the deck in your favor, and that will increase the probability for long-term results. So that's a little bit of a teaching education piece, but also a very real-world tangible action step to really increase the probability of your fitness success.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is it's not so much about the just pushing someone beyond what they're capable of. It's just having that the accountability to say, I'm not going to disappoint myself, even if I don't push the limits, which I think inherently, once you get some momentum in anything, you get that confidence and you go, I can do a little bit more. Even if you're doing 10 reps and go to 12. I mean, I'm not saying you need to double them, but just the fact that there's someone else going, hey, you need to do this today? Because absolutely, there's plenty of days in life and business where it's like, I don't want to. And it's like, oh, I scheduled that a month ago, or I promised someone, or I committed to this. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't want to let them down, even if I want to stare at the wall. But yeah, it's
so
I'm not in. I want to go on a 2 or 3 day no sleep bender and see how much I can get done and be super productive. Like that's, I'd say, pushing the limits. But sometimes it's just follow through with what you said you're going to do. Because I'm sure in fitness, I'm sure that never happens in fitness like it does in business.
I know you're saying that facetiously, but yes, it happens every day. But that's the value of coaching, and that's the value of creating a community. And what we do, with my organization, we understand the fact that business is hard, fitness is hard, life is hard. You need to tap into a support group and a community that really supports you and lifts you up, even on the dark days, and even in the days where you don't want to come. That's when you need it the most, and that's why having that accountability coach is so critical.
Well, I want to ask you a couple more things. Yeah, you know what? We got a few minutes. I'm going to do that next. Is there anything else? You're sharing so much good stuff. You're the expert on this. Is there anything else I haven't asked you? Because I'm doing my darndest. I hope everyone can hear that. I am doing my darndest, but is there anything else I haven't asked that people really should know for that transformation? Because sincerely, I want them to go, you know what? I'm going to start today when they hear this. What else does someone need? What else would you suggest / recommend?
I mean, we can talk about accountability coaches. We can talk about cleaning up your nutrition, your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbohydrates, your healthy fats. We can talk about nutrition, or hydration and sleep and human movement and circuit training, which we've covered, right? One other hack, though, I like to kind of, think outside the box and be able to provide some coaching on some things that maybe aren't so obvious, but really have a long-term benefit. And we talked a little bit about it's the mindset. So, it really is about, pouring yourself into, good literature, books that are about, positivity, leadership, mindset, resiliency, positive podcasts. They're going to lift you up, good, content that's going to inspire you. I think, what I've learned, the fitness journey is a foundational journey. Like, becoming fit is really the baseline to live a healthy and fit life. And really, no one wants to be healthy and fit just to be healthy and fit. They want the benefit of, having more energy, having more confidence, being able to, travel the world, be able to play with your grandkids. So when you start thinking about the positive, the benefits, and also too, from a mindset perspective, if you can really focus on training your mind, how to overcome adversity and really, becoming a better leader, a spouse, a parent, those are really, big mindset tricks that really help me in my fitness journey, because really it starts with, the 6 inches between your ears. So for me, mindset is everything. And I always recommend, leaders are learners, and you're a leader of your own life and you're a leader of your community. And I know you're a leader listening to this podcast right here. So yes, it's about the physical game. Yes, it's about the nutrition and the human movement. It's about getting an accountability coach. But if you can also really, dedicate yourself to put some personal growth and some good mindset coaching, I think that will go a long way. And certainly it's worked for me for the last, 20 years of me being on this journey.
Well, clearly, and it's so great to have you here, and I'm glad you're sharing what you are. Thank you for topping it off with that. I'm going to go to the wheel of whatever now, yellow or black.
Am I choosing?
Yes, please.
Let's go black.
Yes. All right, black. You got a hardball question right there. See it?
Ooh. What do you got?
All right. If you weren't doing this, because clearly you have a passion for it and you're successful with it, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Ooh. Well, I want to reaffirm why I do this, because I've always wanted to be a very successful businessman ever since I was younger, and financially and from a business perspective was always motivated. But, if I just was going for the finance, I would probably, or the monetary gain, I would probably go into high finance. But I really wanted to, have an impact on other people. And I think, again, from the foundation perspective, health and fitness does that. If I couldn't be a health and fitness or business expert, I really have gained so much out of travel in my life. I've lived in 3 continents, in China and South America. I've learned a foreign language fluently, and that's really impacted my life in a very major way. So I would probably be some sort of the travel industry, showcasing travel and the fulfillment that comes with it.
I like that. That sounds fun too.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We're going to thank our sponsor and come back for the Imperfect Action Round. You've heard me say every business needs a book, including yours. And it's true. And that's why I'm launching my new book at eapublishingmethodbook.com, so you can learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Take it from a few of my authors, like Lori.
And I went from having an idea and a possibility to actually getting my book published.
Or Catherine.
Thank you for making my mom #1 best-selling author.
Or Mary Alice.
What he got done for me in 3 days regarding my book launch, unmanageable.
John Cody.
I've worked with Mario over the phone and online, and he's been very helpful in getting me where I needed to go with promoting my books.
Rocio.
There's no way in the world I would have been able to do this with somebody else. I've attempted it in the past. It didn't serve me. As a matter of fact, I ended up more frustrated than anything. So this has been a very seamless process.
Adele.
If you're looking for an amazing business coach, I highly recommend Mario Ficini.
Or Bill Benner.
I can't make a higher recommendation than to work with Mario Ficini. He has been great for me, and right now I won't work with anybody else except for Mario.
Hey, their words, not mine. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get your copy, and I look forward to hearing your transformation as our next video success story. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. And we are back with the imperfect action round. Bryce, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Let's go, Mario.
All right, three questions, rapid fire answers. First one is, what is the fastest way to the profits?
Leadership, marketing, and sales.
Very good. Number 2, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way for them to fix it?
Accountability, hire a coach.
Number 3, what is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
Stop focusing on you, stop focusing on your team, stop focusing on your business, and start focusing completely on your customer and client.
I love that. Thank you so much. What books would you recommend to Expert Authority World?
Foundational, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It will literally lay the foundation for everything about working with people, leading people, and growing people, which is really, a big calling of mine.
I got to ask, because I've been trying to see it since we started. What's the title on the one behind you? Is it Man Up or Man Something Up?
Man Up, and that is by my business partner, who's actually the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp. His name's Bedros Keuilian, and he wrote the book Man Up back in 2018. It is a bestseller. Highly recommend that as well.
Okay. I appreciate that. Where would you recommend, where would you like to, I'm trying to read more on the bookshelf. I'm sorry. Looks like you got about a dozen good ones there. Where would you like people to learn more?
Well, I have a podcast called the Fitness CEO Podcast, where I talk about business and mindset and fitness. So I would highly encourage you to join or check us out, the Fitness CEO Podcast. And of course, I would love to serve your audience moving forward. All my social media handles, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, is the real Bryce Henson, not to be confused with fake Bryce Henson. So that's where you can find me on social.
All right, Bryce, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate everything you've shared. Thank you so much.
Mario, appreciate the time.
All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I will see you on the next one. Have a great day, and God bless. You're already the expert, but have you transformed your expertise into a tangible asset that will generate qualified leads while increasing profit for you 24/7? And if so, how well are you promoting it? With my new book, The Expert Authority Effect Publishing Method, I take you through my process step by step. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get started now. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I would love to know what you enjoyed most from it. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to connect with me on my new LinkedIn. You can go to it directly at eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Lastly, check out the full eainterviews.com site for complete show notes, the full interview video experience, links to the resources we mentioned, and more. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next one.